everyone! In this video, I'll be putting together a summary of who Zayne is and his relationship with you based on the easily accessible content from the game. Hopefully, this will help us better understand this brooding, dark-haired man who seems to have the weight of the world on his shoulders. Zayne's backstory is pretty complicated. Unlike Xavier, who has lived one continuous life despite taking on several guises, we don't know which is the real Zayne since he has multiple personas. Based on Zayne's myth story, we know him as the Foreseer of Astra, the god of Philos. Zayne receives prophecies from Astra, which he then conveys to the people of Philos. Zayne was gifted with one of Astra's eyes, and in return, he is cursed to be eternally imprisoned in the Tower of Thorns. Even contemplation of living would result in him being spiked by icicles and tortured by brambles. In this timeline, you approach Zayne under the guise of the king's envoy to steal the Creatio protocol from him. You have been inflicted with pyroreasis, and only this protocol can heal you. Zayne discovered your intentions and imprisons you.
I've played enough.
He promises you freedom
games.
if you could make his jasmines
You forget
bloom.
yourself, testing the limits of my benevolence. An honest death is not a suitable punishment for every pretender.
Eventually,
I
you made
wish
them
to
bloom
confirm
and learned
something.
that each of these flowers contained Zayne's memories and his connection to all the lives he had lived in alternate universe. Since Zayne regained his memories, you discovered that he had met you across time and
I
space.
won't lose
Each
you
time he
again.
had fallen in love with you and witnessed your death as you tried to change fate. Since Astra's tool cannot fall in love, this god had manipulated his memories, plunging them into an incomprehensible mystery, a jasmine bud that will never bloom. Zayne learned that the Creatio protocol in his possession is able to grow stronger only by draining your life. So in an act of defiance, he puts the protocol in your heart, so that you now wield Astra's power. As punishment, Astra causes the Tower of Thorns to be covered in an eternal blizzard, never to be looked upon again by humans. We don't know what happened to Foreseer Zayne, but the fact that there are many versions of Zaynes in other worlds, we can assume that he is still alive. Fast forward to Lincoln City. Zayne is your childhood friend. His family had been friends with Josephine, so both of you would occasionally get together for meals and outings. Through the Bond stories, we learn about events that took place when you were young. In a frozen promise, after an upsetting visit to the aquarium, Zayne gifted you a small seal sculpture made of unmelting snow to cheer you up.
Zayne,
But you had mistaken his intentions for the longest time. In nostalgic sweetness,
Zayne,
Zayne shared a memory of a young girl,
girl you mentioned.
whom he had helped by providing
Was it
first
me?
aid to her melted
don't remember
popsicle.
it well,
She had promised
but
to repay
what you
him with a
described
popsicle in the
feels
future.
familiar.
Your childhood memories are fuzzy, but these certainly
I didn't
sound
expect
familiar.
to owe you a popsicle in the past, and now.
There's always a chance in the future. You have all the time in the world.
In the year 2040, Zayne had been working on a project about the application of protocol energy in interventional cardiology procedures while completing his undergraduate studies in Skyhaven University. When Dr. Noah asked Zayne why he was working through sleepless nights on the research, he admitted it was because he didn't want to be incapable of doing anything again when he becomes a threat to her. If we refer to his never-ending winter anecdote, when William pressed Zayne for the reason behind his desperation to save others, Zayne said it was because he had once lost control of his evil and almost killed someone important. Through these clues, we can surmise that Zayne might have lost control of his evil and almost killed you when you were younger. This could be the reason for his sudden disappearance in your life. Zayne subsequently destroyed the data to his research, which perplexed everyone. It seemed like his experiment had gone horrendously wrong when it produced a heart covered in black crystals, or rather, a human heart beating and growing out of black crystals. Not long after Zayne had started working, he was sent to the Arctic for an important rescue mission, as denoted in the Neverending Winter anecdote. When Zayne realized that it was futile to continue administering medical aid to an endless flow of dying soldiers, he volunteered to join the Special Operations Mission to the center of Mount Eternal to close the anomalous protofield and stop the deluge of wanderers coming through. Though the mission ended in victory, it wasn't without fatalities. Zayne witnessed firsthand how William, one of his seniors from Skyhaven University, had mutated as black crystals grew and spread through his own body. In the end, Zayne had to kill William himself to put him out of misery. Zayne became a totally changed man after the incident on Mount Eternal. He went on to join Exo Hospital as his lead cardiac surgeon and won multiple awards for his outstanding work done in the Arctic. When Carter, another university senior, approached him to work for Xander Sciences, Zayne vehemently refused. Carter wanted to use protocol energy to revive dead hearts, but had been less than successful in replicating Zayne's original research. He told Zayne that they could become gods in the medical field, control over life and death. Zayne warned Carter of the serious consequences of tampering with fate. In 2048, Zayne re-entered your life when he took over as your primary care physician to treat your protocol syndrome after Dr. Noah retired. On your first hunter mission in Chapter 2, you meet Zayne, who happened to be going the same way to visit a former patient. This patient, Raymond, had received treatment from Xander Sciences, and his vitals appeared to be even healthier than before. He encourages Zayne to join Xander Sciences so that they can push medical boundaries. Zayne refuses. After your grandma died in the Metaflux explosion, Zayne hands you a box containing a letter from Josephine to you in Chapter 4. She had made Zayne promise to look after you after she dies, and that helping you would also help him. Suddenly, a wanderer appears right smack in Zayne's office, which both of you take down together. Zayne's hands freezes up in the aftermath of the battle. You are concerned for his well-being, but he is evasive about it. This isn't the first time Zayne has lost control of his evil, and this comes up in other memories too. I believe his inability to control his evil is part of his curse as Estra's vessel. Through Grandma's letter, you learn that you have an ether core in your heart. You ask Zayne about it, confirming that he was aware of its presence, but I have withheld information from you. Zayne accompanies you to visit Dr. Noah to learn more about the ether core. Both of you have a heart-to-heart talk, since you both share the sorrow of losing someone close to you.
It cannot. Time can't heal everything, nor can someone simply forget the pain. However, people can become
The next morning,
accustomed to sorrow.
Zayne leaves for the Artic North for a mission. He doesn't share more details about it, but I believe it is related to William's mutation on Mount Eternal. You haven't seen him since the end of Chapter 5. Now, I'll make a bold conjecture here. In Zayne's myth, Astra punished him with eternal isolation in the Tower of Thorns, and now he's venturing into the blizzardy Mount Eternal to research the anomalous protofield from 3 years ago. What if these two places are somehow connected? In addition, we don't know who or why you have the ether core in your heart. What if this is somehow due to the creation protocol that Zayne gave you in the myth story? This might explain your ability to continuously die and be reborn, and why the denizens of Philos are after you. Now, there are also two parts of his story that are a bit difficult to explain. In the Still in Dark anecdote, we learn of an alternate Zayne in a dystopian version of Lincoln City, where wanderers have run amok. This is his Dawnbreaker, aka Grim Reaper, persona. He hunts and destroys humans who have turned into wanderers, or wanderers who take on human appearances. The anecdote recounts a really heart-wrenching story about how he spends the final moments with a young boy who eventually turned into a wanderer. Dr. Zayne referred to a Grim Reaper who first appeared when he lost control of his power at the age of 12. Dawnbreaker also mentioned that he had stopped celebrating his birthday ever since he killed his father, who turned into an abomination on his 12th birthday. Ever since then, he had dreamt of himself as a doctor, saving a young girl. So is Dawnbreaker the same Grim Reaper whom Zayne sees? And is Dr. Zayne the doctor in Dawnbreaker's dreams? Then, in the Trace of Divinity myth story, Zayne is a god who lives in a mountain. He has taken on the role of Siming, a deity who makes fine
Romance.
adjustments to human fate. I believe it isn't very different from his
The
role
person
as
you're
Fossier
destined
of
to be
Astra.
with
He
is
sees the ebb and flow of life through the
stoic
flowers in the
and not
tree
very
and
affectionate.
writes them on bamboo sheets. When an old man tells Zane to get rid of you, a variable, or risk disturbing the balance of the world, Zane was unwilling. In the end, he provides you some form of protection but disappears from your life. Both Dawnbreaker and Suming are unlikely to be Dr. Zayne from Lincoln City, unlike how Xavier is the crown prince of Astra, Lumiere, and Deepspace Hunter rolled into one. This is because Dawnbreaker exists in the same timeline, but a different universe as Dr. Zayne. While Dr. Zayne obviously doesn't have the power to control fate like Suming does. In addition, you knew Zayne from young as well. The only link we have between all
Promise
these
me you
Zaynes
won't
is the
cry
jasmine
anymore.
flower. If we go back to the myth story, the jasmines
Now they shall
contain
never
Zayne's
wilt.
memories from different timelines and worlds. If I were to venture a theory, then Zayne the
With this,
Dawnbreaker,
I
Zayne the
will not
Suming,
forget
and
my
Zayne the
answer.
Doctor are all part of the Fossier's memories, even as he is trapped in the tower. After all, it is said that Astra gifted one of his eyes to the Fossier. By walking the winding path of time, did the Fossier understand its passing? This is the power of a god. Let me know what you think about my interpretation of the story in the comments and whether there are other aspects of Zane's lore that I might have missed out.